welcome to another episode of Barrett Baxa Media Shmedia. Here we are, and Steve Barrett, tell us what we can expect to see on the big show today.
Well, one big question is, could we be war-free by the end of 2025? It could be a very peaceful world. We're going to talk about that. Gerrymandering, drawing all of these new congressional lines. Who's right, who's wrong? We're going to discuss that as well. Steve is going to tell a story, Steve being me, about the time he left a CNN reporter absolutely speechless over Trump. We're going to find out about that. We wonder what a decolonizing academia major will get you. Does it get you a job? Where does it get you a job?
I don't know.
And we also have a drinking game now, our own drinking game. All that coming up on this episode of Barrett Baxa Media Shmedia.
Welcome to Barrett and Baxa Media Shmedia. Everyone else has a podcast, why not us? Come along and join the chosen few as we mock the media and ridicule the ridiculous. Get ready as we excite the ears, irritate the eyes, and tantalize the taste buds. Okay, maybe not the taste buds, but you get the point. Let's get the party started. Here's Steve Barrett and Bob Baxa.
All right, this is it then. Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a good one. I'm super excited about this show today, Bob. I am very excited. But before we start, this is very important. You start subscribing. Start subscribing to the show because we're going to be adding a lot of different elements to it and shorts and things like that. So if you're subscribed, you'll be able to look at it and watch what you want to watch. Don't watch what you don't want to watch. But if you do that, you're going to find out all of the things you want to know about us and everything that we've got coming up because we've got some specials coming up. So,
and
but Bob,
I wanna
wanted to start with something from the office of Bob Baxa.
Yes,
health update. This is a health
update on me. Yes, I am just like Tony Soprano, who breathes out of his mouth when he talks. I am breathing out of my mouth. I feel like I'm very nasally. I'm stuffed up, and I don't have a cold. I'm not sick. I think that I destroyed my sinus cavities with drugs over the course of many decades, and now I am constantly stuffed up. And when I talk a lot, it creates like a lot of stuffiness in my nasal cavity. And I feel like I sound nasally. So if I sound nasally, that's why. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, like what we were talking about before the show, if people think like, hey, how do you guys figure out what you would want to talk about? The problem is figuring out.
I've had that question many times.
Yeah. Figuring out what we're not going to talk about. We have too much, way too much. We could easily do a 3-hour show. Easily. I guess I see how Joe Rogan does go 3 hours, but we have to cut a lot of stuff out in our pre-show meeting just to do a 1-hour show.
If you're watching on YouTube, and you should be, you're going to be able to see, like, this is just our show notes just from today. It goes on page after page after page.
Right.
We have to chop things out.
I have a bunch of notes over here.
But here's the problem. We keep saying, Bob, that we are going to shorten up the show, but this latest rundown that I have in my hand right here is 7 pages long. It's the longest rundown we've ever had. So,
well, the reason is we just took 7 minutes telling you how we talk too much. So that could be part of the problem.
Well, let me tell you one thing that we are not going to be doing. We're not starting with high-low anymore because, Bob, you made me cry and you told me your true feelings on high-low.
I wasn't a huge fan of high-low, and here's the thing, and this is what I sort of decided, and I think Steve agrees, like with the podcast, if we have a disagreement on how something should be, and I feel like I do this in my life with my best girl as well, if I am not feeling super strong about a thing, then I just give her way. Like, what do I care? You know, if it's something I don't really care about, I just let her have her way. And it's the same thing with Steve. Steve's like my work wife here. And if I don't care that, if we have a thing and Steve wants to do it one way, and I'm like, well, I really don't like it, but I don't care enough to argue with Steve about it, then we just do it Steve's way. And high-low was that. I was like, I don't really like high-low that much, but Steve seems to like it, so I'll just go along with it.
Well, it made me cry. You know how easy it is to hurt my feelings, and that I get my feelings hurt very easily, and I usually cry about it. So thanks for making me... Thanks
I feel
for
like
making
I'm
me cry.
clearing up. I feel like I'm clearing up.
Yeah,
so
you don't
I'm
sound
doing
like a
better.
former
Yeah.
drug addict anymore.
Right. Which I
It
always
suddenly went away after what?
Yeah.
After a decade
Decades,
of
yes.
not.
All right,
doing
what
the
are we
drugs.
doing here?
All
Let's
right,
get,
what we're doing, we're playing
professional.
a drinking game. We're turning people
Oh, right,
onto a new
right.
drinking game.
Right.
And here's the drinking game. So, Bob, you just got done telling people that in your real life, you don't just endlessly rant and insist that people agree with you and take your point on any issue, but on this
Right.
show, you tend to do that.
I do
So
that.
the drinking game is going to be whenever Bob says, you guys always do this, and you're always referring to Democrats and
Correct,
liberals.
right.
You guys always, so you have to take a drink.
Okay.
If
got
while
it.
you're saying it, if you point at the camera,
You guys always.
that's 2 drinks.
Okay.
And then
what else?
whenever you say mental cases, we think that should be 3 drinks because then
Okay.
we know that you
do.
need a drink to listen to this show.
I
that
call
point.
Democrats mental cases all the time. And I actually do rant in my private life. And my best girl was just saying, we were in the car, I was ranting, and she's like, see, this is what you do on the show. And you never shut up. And it's very frustrating for the listeners. So I was like, okay, got
Is
it.
she hearing from the listeners now?
She is a listener. So she's speaking for the listeners.
Well, Bob, you
And,
said that I need to use this more often right here. All right?
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I have to turn my volume up.
Oh, boy. Nice professionalism.
That's not going to do it, dadgummit.
Oh, dang it. Anyway, we
All right, well, I'm going to try and play Diamond Dave whenever
all right,
I
a David Lee Roth sound effect. Oh, that, right.
There it goes.
That means Bob, shut up.
That's
so,
Bob.
I'll try to...
That's
it.
Bob.
Okay.
That's Bob. Shut up. So I've got it sitting
All
right
right.
here, ready to go at this point.
Good.
But we're going to start
All right.
with Alaska 2025. It almost sounded like
Yeah.
it was the Olympics or something. There was a big
Right.
stage for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and
Yes.
I thought there were some kind of ridiculous moments in that. I didn't
Like
like
what?
the way that Trump was standing there clapping on the red carpet
it was a
as he
little weird.
walked up. It's like, what are you doing? Don't you have the sense not to do that? Like this
Right.
guy's a friggin' despot. He
Right.
is a murderer. He is a dictator, and
Yeah.
he has his people under his thumb. So why are
Yeah.
you clapping for him? That was one of my
Good point.
problems. But
Yeah.
I did like the way that they flew a B-2 bomber right over his
Yeah.
head to say,
Yes.
by the way, see that B-2 bomber that's flying over your head? Yeah, that's what we bombed Iran with. So
And we
just
will
think
bomb
of
you.
that as we go into these negotiations.
Right. And there was a huge show of strength. There was all kinds of fighter jets all lining the runway. And I'm seeing a lot of media giving Trump shit for like having a red carpet and stuff. But here's the thing. He's a visiting head of state. You have to treat a visiting head of state a certain way. And if Trump had treated him poorly, then the media would be complaining that, Trump is going to start World War III. He doesn't even treat the president of Russia correctly. So, I mean,
He was going to lose either
loses
way.
Either way. So I was fine with it. I don't know what's going to come out of this, if anything.
Let me tell you this: he better get results. Like you can't make this big a deal of something and then
Right.
not. And 6 months from now, they're still bombing the shit out of each other.
Which
so
I think still are.
you got to figure he's got to get results. And I mean, tomorrow, of
Yeah.
course, we're recording this on a Sunday, and tomorrow is the day when Zelensky and all the leaders in Europe are coming together at the White House to discuss all this. Hopefully, they'll sort it
Right.
out.
Yeah, I mean, Trump's supposed to be such a great deal maker. Believe me, I'll be the first one to say Trump was full of shit. He did say I was going to solve this on day one. He was clearly full of shit on that. He clearly was not. He acted like, I'll just tell Vlad to do this and he'll do it. Clearly that didn't happen. And see, what I'm doing right here, this is called criticizing my side. Because I'm not a mental case like you people. Go ahead and drink. I can criticize my side. I criticize Trump all the time. You never, ever say, oh, Trump did this, and this correctly. Never. You can't say that. We're going to talk about crime in D.C. You guys are pro-crime now. I mean, that's how mental you are. You're pro-crime.
Again, a literal 90-10 issue. But
this one might be 95-5. I mean, who loves crime? I mean, seriously.
But before we get to that, and we'll just stay
right.
on this for one moment longer,
Yes.
I think if at the rate we're going, by the end of the year, all the wars might be calmed down in the whole world. I mean, there were wars that people didn't even know were going on for like 35 years.
Right.
You know?
I had no idea. I mean, there's wars in Africa that no one knows about. And this is why I think the left is so full of shit when they get their panties all twisted about a certain war, because there's other wars that no one gives a shit about, where millions of people are dying. 2 African countries where everyone in the war is black, and the left could not possibly care less. It's not even on the radar at all. And then other wars, oh my God, the children are dying. There are starving children in Gaza. You selectively care about dying children if it can be used politically against Trump. You can't use, 2 African countries that no one's ever heard of. No one in America cares about that enough that it can be used against Trump. So you guys care about death when it can be used to hurt Trump. So
we just got another you guys. So if this is a drinking game, somebody's got to.
I'm not even aware of how much I say.
No, you're not. You're not aware of a lot of things that you say.
No, I
Bob.
definitely
like
just
you definitely,
talk.
yeah. But speaking of these wars, so this is one of the things that didn't get any coverage, and it's this gathering of monks that are gathering together to praise Trump for ending, or at least for his actions to help end the Thailand-Cambodia war. So who knew Thailand and Cambodia was at war? Not me.
I had no idea. Right.
Well, he didn't claim he was going to end this one on day one, which, by the way, the day one claim, any reasonable person sat back and went, yeah, Trump, you're being a blowhard Trump right now,
he was
saying on day one. And he was exaggerating. So I never thought that he was going to do that. But
I think he was going to do it quickly.
I think this was very kind for all of these monks to gather together.
Yeah, this is so cool.
And one monk giving this speech right here. I'm going to share it.
Play that.
Dear Mr. President Trump, we are standing here today with hearts full of appreciations for your instrumental role in bringing about the recent ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand.
First of all, it's funny. Monks standing there all holding pictures of Trump. This drives the left crazy.
In the same orange outfits.
All wearing the same orange outfit. Absolutely no media coverage. I mean, if this had been Biden, they would be, talking about the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. There is no doubt.
Yeah.
They gave it to Obama for nothing. The guy did nothing. He bombed more countries. Yeah, he bombed more countries than any other president. Trump is making actual peace. I mean, he's bringing peace to the Middle East. He's bringing peace to Southeast Asia. He's bringing peace to Africa. I mean, the one, I forget the countries. It shows, I think I'm a typical American.
And for that scene to get no coverage, because, I mean, not only for what they're saying, not only for what was done, in this war between Cambodia and Thailand, but just the visual of all, if you weren't looking at it on YouTube, the visual of all of those monks standing there. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of them marching with Donald Trump pictures.
And it just shows we've gone over this a million times. Our mainstream media is propaganda for the left. If there's something like that clearly is objectively good for Trump, they will ignore it. Or I think you saw a Fox station. They'll cover it. They'll do one quick VO for 10 seconds. And then later when they're criticized, they can be like, we covered it. We covered it. So, I mean, that just shows how the media is just propaganda, are just propaganda. They really are.
All right, and there's a little bit of that in this next story that we're going to talk about, which is the D.C. crackdown, the federal takeover of D.C. police, and not so much a federal takeover because within the last couple of days, they basically said no, the police chief is going to remain in charge. From what I'm reading.
And D.C. is a federal district. I mean, he has all the authority in the world. But this cracks me up because it shows how Trump has broken the Democrats. We keep talking about these 80-20 issues. I would say crime is a 100-0 issue. I mean, what person wants more crime? And yet, you now have top Democrats who are on the side of crime. I mean, Trump is anti-crime. You mental cases are now pro-crime. You're
and so
literally
like
pro-crime.
92% of the people in D.C. want,
Correct.
in that recent poll,
Yep.
they want more police presence.
And where they said crime is a problem.
Yeah.
And obviously this is such an easy issue. It's so crazy to see you guys coming out in favor of of crime. And the thing we're seeing a lot of. Well, go ahead. Go to the next thing, and then I'll get into that.
Well, a point that I was going to make is that I think one of the things that the left is very scared of is that D.C. is going to become an example of how to solve a problem with current laws. So there's
Correct.
always this thing, they use the term, well, we need to rethink this, or we need to rethink crime in the way we do things.
Right.
Maybe we
Right.
don't. Maybe this is
No.
going to turn out to be one of those things like the border where the problem is solved with existing law in place,
Yes.
just enforcing existing laws. And that's going to make every other city turn around and go, hey, wait a second, Chicago, can't you do that too? Hey,
Correct.
Detroit, can't we fix this problem? Hey, Baltimore, can't we fix this problem? And I think they're afraid of that.
Absolutely. And here's the thing with the left. This is it's a hard truth, but we're going to be the ones to talk about it. The fact of the matter is, if you crack down on crime in a city, you are going to see a lot of black men in handcuffs. That's a fact. That will happen. The left despises seeing black people arrested. The left wants only white people arrested. So if you crack down on crime, you're going to see black people getting arrested. That's
But you're
just how
also
it's
going to
gonna
see
go.
black people being less
Cheering.
victimized.
Cheering,
Yeah, because in D.C., you had some stats earlier that we were talking about before the show that the rate of the murder rate per capita among black
Yes.
men is like 5 times higher than the murder rate amongst whites.
Yes.
So not only are you going to see more people of color being arrested, because those are some of the neighborhoods that have the problem, you're also going to see those neighborhoods become safer and those people being killed less.
Correct. I mean, if you go to these neighborhoods, and this is the thing, we keep seeing these TikTok videos where someone is making a video of themselves next to the Lincoln Memorial, and they're like, "Hey Trump, I'm right here in Washington. Where's all the crime?" Like, you dumb fucks. No one said that there was a lot of crime next to the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
The crime is in the black neighborhoods, like Anacostia. Go to Anacostia at 2 a.m. and make your little cute TikTok video and see what happens.
At a
to you.
convenience store where some
Right.
poor delivery driver has to pull up to the back of the convenience store. I saw it happen in Orlando once. A bread truck driver pulls up to the back of a convenience store to deliver bread, gets robbed and shot and killed just trying to get the people of
work.
that community some bread.
Correct. And the other thing we're hearing is how crime numbers are down. Crime's at a 30-year low. Bullshit. Crime is not at a 30-year low. You're lying about the numbers. A Washington police commander has been reprimanded for lying about the numbers. And this is the easiest thing in the world to
And
predict.
it's the union, and this is not like right-wing politicians saying
No.
that you're lying about the numbers. This
It's
is the
the union.
police union, because
Right.
the police union, I guess their argument would be, well, you need to hire more and pay our guys more, and they're saying,
Right.
well, no, because crime's down, so we really don't need to do
Right.
what you union leaders want us to do. So the union's saying, yeah, you're lying about the numbers.
Correct. And it's the easiest thing in the world to predict. If you tell hospitals you're going to get more money for more COVID cases, guess what? You're going to find more COVID cases. When a guy dies in a motorcycle crash and he has COVID, they're going to say he died from COVID because they
That's
get
a real
money
thing
for that.
that actually
That is a
happened.
real thing that
Yeah,
happened.
that
So
happened.
when police commanders are told you must get your murder, you must get your crimes down, you must get your felonies down, or X, Y, and Z will happen. You'll be reprimanded. You'll lose this. You'll lose that. The commander has every motivation in the world to take an assault and downgrade it to like a simple vandalism or something. They downgrade crimes, and these numbers have been proven to be fake. Crime is not down. And for example, the murder rate in Washington per 100,000 people. First of all, there are 3 white people per 100,000 murder victims in D.C. There are close to 12 per 100,000 for black people. So yes, you're going to see more black men in handcuffs. You're also going to see
Save more
black
lives.
people alive
And
because
safe
they
in
didn't
their
get
neighborhoods.
shot. Yes,
Right.
black grandmothers who are trying to walk down the street and buy groceries are not going to be mugged as much
by a bunch of kids, by a gang of kids. Well, that's and Bob, that's another one of the arguments that they make is that, oh, well, this is kids and we have to solve the juvenile crime problem because they have set laws up in such a way in the juvenile justice system that while kids, while a minor is perfectly capable of deciding that they want to be on hormone blockers or cut their penises off, they're not mature enough yet to understand the consequences of their crime. So
to be responsible for the violent crime they just did.
How do you balance those two things? I mean, if you're going to claim that minors can make their own decisions about their bodies, but they're not smart enough to make their decisions about how not to beat the shit out of somebody and steal their purse or carjack them. You know?
We need to crack down, and if your 15-year-old is carjacking someone with a gun, he needs to do serious adult prison time. That's just the way it needs to be. And we don't need to you always hear the Democrats talk about and you mentioned it, rethinking, or it's complicated. Crime is nuanced. You can't arrest your way out of crime.
That's cop-out by Democrats.
You can arrest your way out. You arrest every criminal. Matt Walsh had a really funny joke where he was saying, oh, you're just going to arrest the criminals when they commit crimes and you think that's going to work? That's like going up to a fireman and saying, oh, you're just going to put water on that fire? Fires are complicated. You think you're going to solve that fire by putting water on it? It's like, no, it's not that complicated. We're going to put water on the fire to put it out, and we're going to arrest the criminals. Like we said earlier, we don't need anything new. These activities are all illegal. We just need to start arresting people, and you're going to see crime rates go down dramatically. So.
Well, Bob, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen more protests like the protests that were happening out in L.A., that we haven't seen that in D.C., and that tells you, at least tells me, that it is a big problem, especially after crowds on demand who, some people say, oh, they don't exist. They don't hire protesters. No, they actually said that they have had an increase in inquiries for protesters in the D.C. area since Trump took this action.
Right.
But yet you haven't seen the protests. So for some reason, they must be getting the message that America is not on their side. And instead of wasting, $20 million on a big protest in Washington, D.C., although the protest may be coming. But here's the other thing. Trump keeps shocking everyone with something new, man. He keeps changing the narrative. And they can't keep up, so they can't.
It's just one thing after another.
Yeah, I mean the LA ICE raids narrative is all but gone.
Yeah,
there's nothing happening there now.
The left can't keep up with which thing they're supposed to be the most enraged about when it comes to Trump, because every single day there's a new thing that enrages them. I want to make sure we mention, did you see the Washington police chief? She was asked a question by her reporter, and the question was, I'm going to paraphrase, so what, now that Pam Bondi has been put in charge and the feds are in here, what will be the chain of command? And she literally said, what does that mean? The police chief of Washington, D.C., a major metropolis, does not know what the phrase chain of command. That's why we are against DEI. Did this woman only get her job because she's black and a female? I have no way of knowing whether or not that happened. But is it very, very possible that she got her job because she's a black female? Absolutely, it's possible. We know. And if I'm a competent black person, I'm insulted by these incompetent people, because human nature says that people are going to look at me and say, oh, did he get his job due to DEI? If I'm a professional black guy, a competent, good at my job, professional black guy, I'm against this crap too, because I want everyone to look at me and know that I got my job because I'm good and not because I'm black. I mean, freaking Biden told us, when he was going to name a Supreme Court justice, he was going to pick a black female. So, I mean, when you say that ahead of time, of course people are going to say, wow, she only got the job because she's a black female. And it sure looks like this Washington police chief is not super competent if she doesn't know what the phrase chain of command means. I mean, seriously, how is that possible?
I'd like to find out whether she was confused by something, was trying to be a smart ass. I mean, it's possible she was trying to be a smart ass and go, well, what does that mean? But
I say no. Look at the video. I say she was genuinely confused about what that phrase means.
All right.
So, and don't we have some singing Democrats?
Yeah, we do. We have a stupid Democrat trick. Real quick,
right, nice.
we're gonna get to that right now. I'm typing it in, and we're gonna share it right now at this moment.
DC is our home. You can have it Trump. DC is our home. You can have it Trump.
Woo!
Who comes up with their chants, man?
I think they're just making it up.
A rhyming chant?
Yeah,
Like,
they just start clapping, and then they go, "We are standing here, and we don't like Trump. We
Notice that
came
it's all
outside
white
today."
women. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is a lot
It's
of white
all
women. I'm
liberal
starting to
white
notice
women.
that you're sort of right about that. It is a lot of liberal white women.
The Democrat Party is made up exclusively of middle-aged white women, and especially Democrat men are middle-aged white women. All of you are middle-aged white women.
Hey, listen,
That's who
there's one
votes
thing.
Democrat.
There's one thing that I am starting to notice. I think Joe Scarborough is starting to come around. I think he's going back to his Republican roots. I heard him on Next Up with Mark Halperin, and he was referring to Trump. He was saying something to the effect of, "How are Democrats going to beat Trump?" And he said they've never understood that they're like trying to get in the ring with Muhammad Ali. And Halperin said to him, "You're comparing him to Muhammad Ali?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like the goat of politics. And he said, "Well, in some aspects, yes." He kind of caught himself and tried to backtrack.
Right.
But even on his own show, we noticed this week that he's starting to say reasonable things. Let me give you an example right now.
No doubt. DC crime.
So, D.C., there has been a problem in D.C. It's not as bad as it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it's not as safe as Manhattan. It's not as safe as the nation's capital should be. By the way, I've lived in D.C. for 32 years. I can go chapter and verse if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I mean, well, Joe, I've lived in D.C. for the last 10 years. My husband runs the Restaurant Association, I think, as most people know, and he used to be the nightmare. So I think that and I do think that you had David Drucker on earlier, and I think he hit the nail on the head, that it is perceived violence amplified by some actual real acts of violence. But
okay, wait a second. Let me just stop sharing real quick. Perceived violence amplified by actual violence. So somehow, if there's real violence, then someone makes up new alternate violence in their head. That's
so
what
crazy.
she's saying.
They are so out of their minds. It really, she is high, clearly. There's a crime problem. D.C. has a crime problem. The murder rate in D.C. is, the murder rate in Mexico City is 8 per 100,000 people. D.C. is 41. So D.C. is 5 times worse than Mexico City. It has a higher murder rate than Baghdad.
And why
DC.
not treat our capital better than the rest of our cities? Why not?
Correct.
Why shouldn't
can't
we
it be
say,
perfect?
look, we want, and not only that, there's also this argument. If you're going to take a government job, right, and you're really good at what you do, whatever it is, right, you're a lawyer of some kind or whatever.
Right.
You're not going to come and take a lower paying government job, lower paying other than the private sector. You're not going to take that lower paying job and live in a crappier neighborhood in a crappier city. So we need to make the city wonderful, make the city safe, make the city affordable all at the same time so that we can draw the best people to our capital to have the best people working in our government. But that's not what's happening.
Agree.
And
100%
there's
agree.
a great argument to be made. Let's continue this thing because Simone Sanders is going to be, that's her name, right?
Yeah, Simone Sanders.
Yeah, Simone Sanders. She's going to make another ridiculous point here coming up. Just a second.
The way I've heard D.C. being described this morning is like it's a city under siege, like it's a dangerous place, clutching your pearls. You got to keep your bag under your dress when you leave the house, and that's just not true. What we are talking about, though, is these instances of juvenile crime. That is what Jeanine Pirro came to the White House press briefing yesterday and zeroed in on. I was surprised I didn't hear Brian Schwab talk more about it. He mentioned the juvenile courts and the judges, but my concern is that the president is using instances of juvenile crime in the city of Washington, D.C. as a pretext for what I would describe as his authoritarian overreach. And because there is enough there for folks to say, oh, well, you know, maybe it's not all that bad what Donald Trump is doing, just like there are people that said the same about immigration until you know, the Marines were rolling down the streets of their city and ICE was snatching up their neighbors in neighborhoods that people have been there for years. There's just enough there for people to say, oh, well, maybe this isn't that bad, ignoring the fact that more police officers on the street are not going to fix the issue of juvenile crime.
Yeah, they are.
What? Yes, they are.
Yes, they
she is so
are.
effing stupid. More cops will. It's not complicated. The Democrats make everything, they act like everything is so complicated. It's not complicated. If you flood an area with cops, there's going to be less crime. I mean, this is not rocket science. Yes, more cops will eat. I mean, ask every 60-year-old black grandmother in the hood, does she want more police or fewer police? And we've talked about this before. She wants more police. She seems to be saying, well, it's not that bad, so why should we do anything? Why not do it if there's one crime? What's wrong with solving that one crime? And instead of one, having zero.
And it's again that argument that these children don't know the consequences of their actions. They can't be trusted with their own lives at this point. But yet at the same time, the left is saying, hey, let's all trust them with their sexuality at this point and whether or not they want to irreversibly change their bodies so that they can never have children again. Bob, one more thing.
We've been coddling them. We tried it your way.
We tried coddling.
We're doing it.
Let's not.
Yeah, we're trying it our way, which is arrest the F out of everyone.
Okay.
And
so
throw them in jail.
Here's coming up right now. Here, this is probably the best part of the show in terms of just a segment something we found online, and this is that tweet that someone put out. Out on Twitter, and we're going to show you this as we read you some of these tweets. This is going to be very funny in my opinion.
Well, wait, before let's set up what they were. So a person who's a liberal and who thinks Trump is wrong, a Simone Sanders type of person who's like, Trump's full of shit, there's not a big problem. So this person took to Twitter, X, whatever, and said, hey, DC, let's show that jerk Trump that our city is wonderful. Share some of your wonderful experiences here in D.C. So that's what the person was looking for, and here's what they got. That's a good
setup, and here's what they got.
All right, so like I said, hey, D.C., let's push back against the negative narrative around our city. Share why you love our beautiful home and help show the world the real D.C.
And here's what they got. I like the part where the police gave out air tags so we could start finding our own stolen cars. That was amazing. What a city.
All right. I was riding the metro with my infant who started to cry. I picked the baby up and someone stole the stroller. Good times.
My car was shot up in a drive-by, and we had to go to 5 different police stations before we found one that was open because it was a Sunday.
A homeless man spit in my face while he was fully exposed when I went to visit family in D.C. Hashtag the real D.C.
I love the open-air compost toilets that people in other communities call sidewalks.
That's a good one. These are very clever. It was really cool when a guy headbutted me on the metro after I asked him to stop blasting music through his phone speakers. And then there was the time a bum spat on me for no reason.
All right, enough of these. You get the point.
They
didn't get the reaction that they wanted from that tweet now, did they?
And I love, and then you can count on someone saying, hey, these comments aren't going quite the way you wanted, are they? And that was a good one. So, very funny.
All right, very funny. All right, now we're going to move on to some. What's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
They want Trump to solve the crime issue. Like, it's a popular thing.
I think everybody does, and if he does, it's going to send a message to other cities that they can do the same thing. Let's clean up the crime problems, and let's clean up the homeless problems in our communities. We need to get these people either into some kind of treatment facilities so they're off the streets, or find them places to live.
That's the other issue. We don't have to tolerate open air camping in our capital city. And how is it compassionate?
And of all places,
to
our
let
capital
people,
city.
Right. How is it compassionate to let homeless people live on the sidewalk? You tell them you have options. You can go into a shelter. You can go to treatment. There is no third option. You're not allowed to live on this sidewalk. And that's it. We just don't tolerate it. Where is it written that we have to tolerate people defecating on the sidewalk of our capital? Like, it's where we have gone with this is just insanity. It's insanity.
All right, moving on to quickies now.
All right, cool.
Here's one for you, and you tell us about this meth head Dem governor candidate. Apparently, a Democrat governor candidate has gone off the rails.
He was in the street. He's a candidate for governor in South Carolina. He was in the street in his underwear and sneakers. He was screaming. His eyes were dilated and he was sweating profusely. And one of the officers commented, he seems to be exhibiting some of the signs of a narcotic stimulant. So I can, as a former meth head, I can tell you for sure, or coke, it's either coke or meth. If you're in the street screaming and sweating profusely and your eyes are dilated,
it's a bad trip.
You are probably on meth. That would be my guess.
All right. Mom Donnie has a fan guy. And what I mean by that is not a guy who is a fan.
No, it's a literal fan.
It's a literal fan guy. You remember when Morris Day and the time, and he had the mirror guy, and he would come out on stage and he would dance in front of the mirror and look at himself and preen himself. Well, that's what Mom Donnie has. He's got a guy, and I don't know that the guy realized that he was on camera, but he's got a little fan that he holds on his face while he gives speeches, I guess to keep him from sweating or something. He doesn't want to turn out looking like Rudy Giuliani.
And nothing says you're a man of the people quite like having a slave, having a job that is to blow air on your face. That says, because really, what normal blue-collar guy doesn't have someone that walks around with them with a fan on their face?
Right.
I mean, that's a normal part of life.
There's someone right off frame here.
Yeah, I got a guy right here.
Yeah, I got a guy blowing a fan on me right now.
Right.
AOL got rid of dial-up.
This is crazy. Dude.
There's still dial-up?
It's unbelievable that there's still dial-up. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the internet, I worked on my job in the military was working on, it was called WMIX, and that stood for Worldwide Military Command and Control System. And all this was, and believe me, in 1989, this was unbelievably cool. All this was a way for a commander in Korea to have a secure conversation with a commander in Germany. And basically, they were just like sending each other instant messages, but long before anyone knew what an instant message was. And I can remember in 1989 sitting in the computer room at Ramstein Air Base in Germany and typing on the computer to a guy who was sitting in the exact identical computer room at an air base in Korea. And we would go back and forth like, hey, you're in Korea? I'm in Germany. And it was like kind of a cool novelty for like 5 seconds. If only I could.
But did you have dial-up? Were you doing it with dial-up?
This was on a computer, and it seemed like it was fast.
Dial-up was on a computer.
That's true.
I mean,
I don't know
dial-up,
what
for those of you who
was.
don't remember it, it was that...
Right.
You know, kind of that fax sound, and it took you forever to dial in, and then every website took forever to come up.
Oh, my
because
God.
didn't you had like 17.7 connection, and then you had the 29.9 connection, and then you had the 56K connection, so it kept getting better and better.
I can remember, like, right now on high-speed internet, if a page takes, like, more than 1.5 seconds to load, I lose interest. Like, all right, I no longer care what that was. And I remember having to wait minutes. Like, sometimes you'd have to wait 10 minutes for a page to load. And if only I could have
You'd walk
foresaw
away.
the
You'd walk
future.
away,
You'd
make
walk
a
away and
sandwich, come back.
and it would be half loaded. You'd see you're at 50%, and you go back, it's at 80%, and then finally it would load.
And then it
It's
would kick you off.
unbelievable.
You'd be halfway through it, and it would kick you offline, and you'd have to log back in.
Or
Those were
someone
the
would
fun
go to
days.
use the phone, and the noise was on
man.
the phone. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it was
so
crazy.
bizarre.
Yeah,
that
you
we
couldn't
live.
use your telephone because you were
Correct.
using your telephone line to get through.
Right.
All right, moving on through quickies. A baby cried at a tennis match and got kicked out of the tennis match. Do you like this idea?
No, why are you bringing a baby? When I went to the Mets game 2 weeks ago, there were people. I'm not talking small children. I mean, you take a 5-year-old. Okay, great, he's making memories. But why do you take your 9-month-old to the Mets game? And why would you take your 9-month-old to the tennis match? The baby has no concept of where he is. You, I imagine, can't really enjoy yourself, and all the other people are annoyed when the baby's
Well,
crying.
there was
So-
applause when the baby was kicked out. When the mom,
I
I don't
believe
want to say
that.
the baby was kicked out. It was the mom who didn't have the
Right.
sense to get up. Your
Get a
baby's
babysitter
obviously
or
not
leave.
comfortable. Go to
Right.
somewhere where you can deal with your child and make your kid, solve whatever problem. Hungry, diaper, whatever it is,
Whatever.
stomach ache, whatever. Just don't do it in a crowd of people in a tennis match when they're trying to play a game here and everybody's come to watch.
Well, to me, the larger problem here, and this is a perfect example of it, people give no thought to, will other people be annoyed by this behavior? That doesn't even enter their
Yeah.
mind. I guarantee she did not say, gosh, I think people might be annoyed by the baby, but F them, I don't care. That was not what happened.
Right.
It never occurred to her that she wanted to do something, and that's all that matters. I want to do it. It does not occur to me if other humans will be annoyed by this behavior. So it's a problem in our society. It is.
All right. A problem in Canada is that they try to tell you what you can and cannot do. They think we're still living in the age of COVID. Nova Scotia banned walks in the woods because of the wildfires.
Yeah, this is really weird to me. I saw this story, and they're not banning smoking in the woods. They're not banning making campfires. They're banning walking. You're not allowed to go into the woods and walk through the woods. Why? I have no idea. I mean, maybe if you're like the Flash and when you run, flames come out of your feet. That's the only thing I could think of. But it was funny to me. They interviewed a bunch of people, a bunch of Canadians, and every single person said, yeah, that's a really stupid idea. I can't believe they're doing it. And yet Canadians put up with it. Canada is an entire country that is what Democrats want our country to be, which is total government control, very meek, submissive residents who let the government do any stupid thing they want and never, ever push back. And this is a perfect example of that.
And my theory that the whole New Jersey what do you call them? The little aircraft, the New Jersey drones was simply a test to see what Americans would
theory,
put up
yes.
with. I believe
it's a
that
good
is
theory.
why they did it. All right, now we're moving to the want portion. And want being...
We know that want is... Go ahead.
You say it.
All right, we only need the headline. There are so many stories where you don't even really need to go any further than the headline to get all the humor that is right there in the headline.
And
So
here
we have
are
a few
some of
wants.
them. One of them, this is coming from FoxNews.com. Unearthed emails reveal White House nixed Biden visiting ship because of, quote, how many steps were involved. This is
so
great.
good.
But
That is so good.
You know they did this. There wasn't just this one
100%.
trip. There were many
No.
trips that they said, no, he's not doing that.
It obviously had to become a thing in the Biden administration where before he could do something, they had to check out the physical layout and see, are there going to be stairs? Because we know Joe can't deal. Joe will fall upstairs. So we know this. He falls up the stairs. So obviously a ship has a lot of steps. Way too much opportunity for Joe to F it up. So they had to nix that event. Yeah. So I thought that was that's a funny headline.
All right, this one comes from SILive.com, which really stands for Staten Island Live.com. So it's a small Staten Island publication.
Correct. Given to us by Carrie Barrett, Steve's sister.
Yeah, this is my
was a good
sister,
one.
Steve's sister,
Yeah,
Carrie.
She found this.
So this one reads, quote, small, tiny, insecure man, quote, how Obama Bush are still living rent-free in Trump's head.
That's so unbelievable. Like Carrie said when she sent it, how is this a headline? And she's absolutely right. How is that a headline?
Do you
how
think
is
that
a headline
with everything that he's doing, that he gives a shit that someone called him a small, tiny, insecure man? So many people have called him that. I mean, you can look online, just on TikTok right now. There are plenty of people making the exact same insults every day.
100%, yeah. And how much do you have to hate Trump to write a headline like that? I mean, well, God, you people.
There you go. No, but I have a you people story. When the night of the election, 2016, I was at a big hotel in Orlando, and I had taken the night off. I didn't want to work the election, and I was working. I was just doing freelance work at Channel 9 at the time. So I said, I'm not working the election because as a journalist, I hated working elections. But I am in town, and I'm staying at the same hotel as CNN has put their crew up. And I'm talking to Randy Kay and her producer that night. And they're asking me, because I'd been a journalist along the I-4 corridor for so long, they said, what do you think is going to happen in Florida? And I said, well, Trump's going to win. They laughed at me out loud. They laughed and said, you can't be that stupid. Are you kidding me? You really think that Trump can win Florida? The next day in the elevator, coming down in the elevator, they were on the elevator. And I simply turned to her and I said, you're not laughing about it now. I said, you know now that I was right and he won the whole country. They would not even speak to me. They just looked at me, shook their heads in complete disbelief because they were so certain that they were right the night before. And I proved them so wrong. I didn't prove them wrong. The people of Florida and the people of the United States proved them wrong.
Yeah, and there's that famous compilation video of all different famous people like George Clooney. There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. And there's like 30 of them. I still enjoy watching that. It really is
That is
fun.
a good clip.
Yeah.
All right, another headline. MS-13 member serving time for murder sues Trump to be recognized as a woman.
Think about that. Go back in time to like 1996 and tell someone
that's
this
a
is a
headline.
real headline. Like a gang member is suing the president so he can be recognized as a woman. They'd be like, what does that even mean? Like, what are you talking about? How would you be recognized as a woman? I mean, it's
Here's
so
another
ridiculous.
one that no one would believe back in the 90s. The Catholic University of Scranton hires pro-abortion former senator.
Nice. A pro-abortion senator hired by a Catholic university. Our mutual friend Arch Kennedy has a great, I guess I would call it an op-ed on a religious website. And he talks about how these places like this Catholic university they're not real Christian. And I would have to agree. How can you be a Catholic? Like, I'd say it's a pretty basic tenet of the Catholic faith that you're pro-life. So how do you possibly hire a pro-abortion guy at a Catholic university? That makes no sense. Another one that makes no sense.
All right. Another segment. We're going to start going down the memory hole, as you call it. Down the memory hole. These are stories that flushed down the memory hole. These are stories that were huge at one point, but suddenly became nothing at all. And the one we wanted to bring up today is the shooting at the military base about, a week and a half now it's been?
Does anyone, say to yourself, if you're listening, say to yourself, do you even know what we're talking about? Like, you literally might not even know what we are talking about right now. That's how quickly this story disappeared. A soldier went onto a base and opened fire. I mean, this is a story the left loves. Except the one part of it that they hate is that the dude was black, and that the only
it wasn't
reason
the typical white serial killer.
It wasn't a guy that they could call a white supremacist.
Right. It wasn't a white supremacist who came out of the woods with his guns and just started shooting people because of their race.
And this was not a one-day story. I think this was a 1-hour story.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing disappeared so fast. I almost wondered, is there some underlying thing going on there? How did it disappear that fast? But it reminds me of a a thing that Chris Plant says is that the media's most insidious power is their power to ignore. And he's right. not only do the media hype stories unnecessarily, they also ignore important stories that don't fit the narrative. And this is obviously one of them. I guess because the guy was black is the only thing I could think of.
All right. Before we go to break, just one more thing that I want to make sure doesn't get flushed down the memory hole. Is that you said that Pam Bondi was going to be fired over the Epstein stuff. And I don't think that's going to happen at all. It didn't. I think you may have been proven wrong.
I was Do you remember Happy Days with
Fonzie couldn't say the word wrong. He would say,
I was, that thing I said turned out to not be totally correct.
Hey, maybe she's going to be fired next week and you'll go, told you, Barrett.
I was right. Yeah, see?
All right.
You're listening to Barrett and Baxa, Media Shmedia. Real stories, raw takes, and the slow, strange death of traditional media.
All right, continuing with the episode here. I think this is like episode 27 or something.
Yeah,
Bob.
that's awesome.
We're doing great, man. We're getting a lot of episodes out there. I think we got like 30 or 35 something total going.
I don't understand why, like the Megyn Kelly network or the Blaze hasn't bought
called
this
us
show
up
yet.
and said,
where is that?
Given us the $200 million contract.
I mean, we've been doing this for several months. I would have imagined by now we would have already signed our first multi-million-dollar contract. It's taken a little longer than I thought, but we'll get there.
And like I said off the top of the show, we're going to start doing things a little bit differently. I think every show we're going to start rolling out a little bit different thing or something new, or getting rid of something like high-low. But one of the things we're going to do is start pointing people to our shorts, because we want to talk about stuff in the podcast. Yeah. And we're able to, if we can do a short on something, we can bring it up in the podcast and just direct you to the short that we're going to do. So on YouTube, obviously, you have the full segment, and then you have what are called shorts. And those are short videos that don't take you as long. They're sort of snackable, as they say in the business.
Speaking of
and
snacks,
that is a stupid term. Snackable.
Snackables. Lunchable. And those are so bad for you, man. If you ever look at a Lunchable and see the sodium content, it's like all the sodium for the day is in that little thing that you're giving to your kid.
It's like pouring salt down your throat.
Pretty much. Yeah. I just did a rant about the food stamp situation, because some states are making it that you can't buy junk food with food stamps, which is clearly the way that it should be. And so I did a rant. So check my food stamp rant.
It's going to be nice to get some of your rants off of the podcast itself, so that this is not your only platform for ranting.
Well,
but one of the things I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to do it. This is something that I'm really into, and that's researching my family history. I found this wonderful website, and I'm going to do a short about it and show you it. But it's called FamilySearch.org, and essentially it is this. It's not one of these DNA sites where you give them your DNA and then they tell you who all your cousins are around the world and stuff like that. This is actually AI taking documents like census documents, military records, immigration records, church records, all kinds of records, as many records as they can get. They feed them into this artificial intelligence, and it does things like, if it sees that Steve Barrett is a 2-year-old boy in the 1970s census in Illinois, and then he's a 12-year-old boy in the Wisconsin census with the same family, the same names, the same brothers.
So it connects those.
It connects them and says, okay, so I have traced some of my family all the way back to Charlemagne, the first emperor.
Wait, Charlemagne the God, that black guy who's a
not
DJ
Charlemagne.
in New York
No,
City?
I'm not. I don't think I'm related to Charlemagne the God.
Right. This is a different Charlemagne.
There's a different Charlemagne. This is the previous Charlemagne. Charlemagne the First.
Charlemagne, who spells the word "the" correctly, unlike the black guy. Okay.
But this thing is awesome. I'm going to do a short on it, so watch for that. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and I'm going to show you like what I find the absolute best way to research your own family history.
Nice. That sounds awesome.
You
have a very common name. How does it? There's probably thousands of Steve Barrett. I know we've even seen some of them. How does it get around that?
Well, the first Steve Barrett is actually Stephen de Barrett, and he sent his sons over to Ireland during the Norman invasion.
What?
To
cool
invade
is that?
Ireland and spread Christianity into Ireland. So
Very
so
cool.
Barrett
All right.
Barrett was a big family, and we were like the
Nice.
tax collectors of Ireland for like
Really?
700 years. Yeah, the Barrett
Wow.
family. We
Okay.
collected taxes from people.
Huh.
And
I
I
will
think
actually watch that. That
did
sounds
some
pretty
fairly
cool.
like we were a little bit like the mafia. If you didn't pay
Nice.
your taxes, you got your arm broken.
Right.
But
Nice.
so I think some of that went on back in the Middle
Okay.
Ages. But
Oh, well, I will
Anyway.
look for that. Very cool.
you though, Bob, are going to do a short for me on your anger with the Billy Joel documentary, which I watched the first half of
Yes.
it, and I hope you don't
It's so
spoil it
good.
for me. It was such a good documentary, but you
No,
said
it's-
as you got to the end, you got incensed by something.
About halfway through, obviously the documentary, it's a great documentary. Who doesn't love Billy Joel? I mean, is there a person that says, I hate Billy Joel? I doubt it. Maybe somebody does. But he has, one of the things through the documentary is that the critics have not loved him. He has been kind of critically panned quite a bit. But obviously, the guy I think he sold out Madison Square Garden for 12 nights in a row. Think about, first of all, just selling out Madison Square Garden one night, selling it 12 nights in a row. I mean, think about how many freaking people, and these people that went multiple times. My sister, I know, went. But yeah, they're still on the very fine people hoax. So unbelievably, and it really drives me crazy that the left has these hoaxes that have been debunked. The very fine people hoax, and I'm not going to get totally into it right now. Go watch my short and I'll explain it. It's been debunked. Trump did not call Nazis very fine people, period. Full stop. That did not happen. It's been thoroughly debunked. And it just really surprised me that a top
It popped up
sort
on
of on a documentary. And
Yeah, but this is an HBO documentary. Like HBO and Max, they are like the woke.
They must be.
They're the woke
I didn't even
service.
mention this part of it. You're doing a documentary on Billy Joel. You would think, all right, this is not political. Billy Joel's
Leave
not super
politics out of it.
political. I'm not going to see any ranting about how bad Trump sucks. But these people, it's like you
But wait, when they're
can't
interviewing
talk.
Bruce Springsteen about Billy Joel,
Yes.
something's going to get political. That's like trying to
Correct.
interview Bono about anything.
Right.
It's gonna get
He's going to
political.
talk about starving African children at some point, clearly. Yeah, it did. And so that irritated me. And it does piss me off when something that should just be like a feel-good thing for Billy Joel fans, and they have to throw in a dig at Donald Trump. It's like you guys can't go this one documentary without trashing Trump. But the answer is no. They
I'm surprised.
cannot. They can't. They can't make a documentary unless they remind you that Trump sucks. Like, if you're talking to them about peanut butter, they'll be like, yeah, I like smooth peanut butter. And also, did you know that Donald Trump sucks? I don't know if you knew that Donald Trump
Well, I'm
also
surprised that when they
sucked.
were going through Billy Joel's life in the 70s in New York City, that they didn't somehow equate him to, while Billy Joel was writing some of his best songs ever, Donald Trump was going bankrupt across
or was
town.
discriminating against black people in Queens or something. Yeah, no, they didn't do that. But they did they brought back the very fine people hoax. But in any event, go watch my short and I'll explain how I feel about that.
All right, so pay attention to our shorts, everybody,
Yeah.
and we like it when you like them. We like them when
Right.
you don't like them too. Whatever, any
Anything.
reaction
as long
is
as you
good
watch.
reaction.
The
All right.
algorithm doesn't care.
All right. This week it was reported that in London there were some female cops that went undercover to see, and this is sort of part of the speech police stories that we've
Yeah.
talked about, trying to see if they're being catcalled
Right.
in
They're
London as
trying
they're
to
walking
stop.
around.
Well, now this was there's a famous video that was from about 10 years ago, and it's called 10 Hours of Walking in Manhattan as a Woman. And the makers of this video, it's just what it says. They put a woman, an attractive woman, not dressed provocatively, dressed in like jeans and a t-shirt. She's attractive. She's not a supermodel. She's I would say, well above average attractive woman. And they had a guy walking in front of her who was clearly not with her.
Carrying a
He
hidden
had
camera.
a hidden camera, and he just filmed. She said nothing. She looked at no one. She did nothing except walk. And it was supposed to be a sort of a thing about misogyny and how men bother women.
Treat
and
women,
unfortunately for the filmmakers, like 99% of the men who made inappropriate comments were black and Hispanic. And there were like virtually no white men. And the filmmakers had the most groveling apology. And they were like, we promise in the future we will try to make sure we get a more diverse section of people. Like, what? How do you get a more diverse set of douchebags who are saying rude shit to women? Like, how do you go about doing that? They went through every neighborhood in Manhattan. Even in so-called white neighborhoods, the only people saying inappropriate shit were black guys. And every woman who lives in a city and walks down the street knows that the catcalling comes almost exclusively from blacks and Hispanics. That's it. White guys are not doing it, and, Asian guys are not doing it. And you just have to...
Asian guys definitely, I don't think, are doing it. All right, let's talk about the redistricting fight.
Okay.
Gerrymandering happening. So I guess these senators and representatives, the Texas legislators, are going to go back this week. But they kept saying that this week that they're going back, and they haven't gone back yet. So maybe it's a bluff. I don't know. But now Newsom, Gavin Newsom in California, is saying that he's going to put it to the voters of California to decide whether or not they want to redistrict or not. That'll be interesting to see.
And there was a I don't know if we did this as a once, but there was an article and it said Democrats tried to separate their tactical use of redistricting from Republicans. And so, in other words, the article is saying the Democrats are trying to separate their good use of redistricting from Republicans' horrible use of gerrymandering. Like, it's just another example of a typist for the Democrat Party typing up an article in favor of Democrats. And it's a perfect example of when, and Democrats have done this for decades. It's nothing new. We've talked about this over and over. When Democrats do it, it's fine because it's them doing it. And when Republicans do it, they flip out and lose their shit. So this is just another example of that.
And you want to look at something that is gerrymandered. Just take a look at Jerry Nadler's district here. Let's
the New York congressman.
Yeah.
This is great.
Jerry Nadler.
Look at this freaking thing.
Look at this. It
starts on one side of the river, crosses the river, goes up north, then back down. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is clearly done to encompass, certain
so it goes all the way down the lower west side of Manhattan. Crosses the river. And then it kind of winds around the coast.
Goes north. Like, what happened there?
And you notice that it's all along the water, and all that waterfront property is going to be the more expensive property.
Correct.
And
that's
then it
goes
goes
be all white
right down here through this middle swath of what would be, I believe, Brooklyn.
Right. And New York is set up in a grid pattern. It would make you could make every district in New York a square or a rectangle. Like, why would a district ever have to look like that? And the answer is because it's gerrymandered. It's done so you have certain types of people in that district.
And all that snakiness also is happening in Illinois. That's been pointed out very which is where all these guys fled to. Yeah. So we'll see how this shakes out. All right, let's do more quickies. This one's a sad one. Father and daughter burned a raccoon together in Florida, and they were arrested for it. This is insane. These people, first they found a raccoon in a dumpster. I mean, whatever you think of raccoons, they can be dangerous, whatever, but you can't do this to an animal. No. They stabbed it with a pitchfork, and they left it there and went to lunch. They came back and they found out that it was still alive, so they doused it with gasoline and lit it on fire. Meanwhile, videotaping the whole thing to put on social media.
And they were like commenting. I fully believe. I say
they're
that
facing
these people,
5 years in prison each.
That's
now.
nowhere near enough. They should do. If you would do this to an animal, you are evil. I say you deserve 10 years in prison easily. And I would, like I was saying before, each one of them should. I realize we can't do this, but we should force them to put their hand into a fire and get third-degree burns on their hand. Like, that to me would be a good punishment. each of you get you have to hold your hand in fire for 3 straight minutes until you have severe 3rd-degree burns on your hand. And you could forego prison. You just get those burns. I mean, what kind of sick person would do that? That is absolutely insane.
All right, next story up is podcasters allegedly faking their listeners. They're inflating their numbers. This according to the Hollywood Reporter. Who knows whether you can trust the Hollywood Reporter, but their headline here is, "Are top podcasters fudging their numbers? Why podcast metrics can't be trusted?" Here's what I think's happening here, Bob. I think they're trying to make podcasters look like frauds.
Right.
Like they're faking it. They can't be trusted because the podcasters are becoming the new trusted media.
That is a good point, but I think there's also another point that's even simpler. It's true. Any time that numbers are tied to money, and clearly the higher your numbers, the more money you get. And we can even tie this back to the DC crime statistics, where the numbers of crimes are tied to the commander's job performance. Anytime there's a motivation to have the numbers be something other than what they really are, then it's human nature. Of course, people are going to lie about the numbers. Like, if you tell a podcaster, if your number is this, you get this much more money, of course, it's like saying, if there's a bag of money left on a stoop, would people take the bag? Like, yes, people would take the bag. People would steal the money. Yes, people will lie about their numbers. I mean, this is just human nature. So.
Speaking of lying, apparently Chuck Schumer has been making up a couple who has been telling him what they think of Trump policies. Well, all throughout for years, Republican policies, I should say, not Trump policies. So he makes up this fake company or fake couple.
The Baileys. Have you heard him talking about them? They have a whole backstory. He talks about where Mr. Bailey's father used to work and like what school their kids go to.
Big Bird and Snuffleupagus.
Yes, exactly.
He's making it up.
He made up his own family, and it's all fake. These people don't exist, and he talks about them in like tremendous depth. And
he wakes up every morning and Mr. Bailey wakes up every morning and reads the paper as he drinks his coffee and eats a Danish. Before he gets on the subway to go to work each day. Yeah.
Well,
and
we have shown a picture
and what
of
he does
Mrs.
is he
Schumer.
Expresses their opinions. He said, and the Baileys tell me that they are so concerned about this policy and that policy.
Which did not happen because
they're former Republicans. Like they're Republicans that became Democrats.
Right.
And they're just a fictitious couple.
Is fake. Yeah, he made them up.
All right, so the Subway sandwich throwing guy is going to jail. Went to jail already. And he should. You can't throw a Subway sandwich at a police officer.
That's assault. You're not allowed to throw something.
And he worked with the DOJ, so there is the deep state in action.
Pam Bondi already fired him. Now, I predict that he will have a high-priced lawyer who will sue to get his job back, and I don't know if she had enough cause. I mean, if you're a lawyer for the DOJ and you get arrested for assaulting a cop, can you automatically be fired for that, or does there have to be some sort of process?
I think there's something in your he's a lawyer for them, so I think there's something. Yeah, a lawyer for the DOJ, and there must be something in the documents that you sign when you are hired by the DOJ that say you cannot break laws, and if you're arrested, we can fire you. So
then, if that's the case, then great. I definitely think he should be fired. But of course, the thing I'm seeing from the left is, if you throw a sandwich at a cop, you get arrested. But Trump pardoned the January 6th rioters and they attacked cops. Okay, talk to me 3 years from now when the sandwich guy has been sitting in a jail cell for 3 years for this relatively minor assault. The January 6th, I call them the January 6th Patriots. They were political prisoners. They were sitting in jail cells for years because they were being made an example of. And yes, Trump was right to pardon them. I'm glad he pardoned them. And I hope this guy writes, you people, you mental cases, you deserve to be in prison.
I'm trying to get my David Lee Roth to work here, but my David Lee Roth is not. Just like David Lee Roth himself, he's not. The David Lee Roth app is not that. It's not that reliable.
We'll get a new thing to stop me because we do need something that stops me.
Some kind of a clanking device. I just need a clanker right here. What happened to the clank? We need to get back to the clank.
All right, we'll get that.
All right. And also this week there was this crazy woman who claims, well, she's supposedly a Bravo star. I don't know how you're a Bravo star. I don't know of anyone
she's a reality
on Bravo.
TV star.
Reality TV star who says that MAGA people should not be allowed in any ethnic restaurant at all. Can't go to a Mexican restaurant. Can't eat at an Asian restaurant. Can't eat out of a taco truck. They should be banned.
And this is she's a fairly mainstream person, I think, in the Democrat Party. I mean, this is how crazy you mental cases are. You believe that Trump supporters should not, and I guess
That's
her
like
logic
3 shots
that,
so far. No, it's like 8 shots so far.
8
that
shots.
People have had.
You should be drunk by now.
Yeah.
Is the logic what is the logic here? Like, try to help me understand what her logic is.
And here's the problem with her.
Saying?
Here's the problem. She's saying and she calls them triple Trumpers, people who voted for Trump 3 times.
Okay.
And triple Trumpers should not be able to go into like a Mexican restaurant because Hispanic people hate us. Is that why?
What is her logic? I don't understand.
It's
because
not
Trump's
logic.
deporting.
It's not logic
is it
at all.
because of ICE?
Right. Yeah, it's because of ICE, and it's because of her Trump derangement syndrome that she thinks she doesn't understand that more like that the black population, the Hispanic population, probably even the Asian population, although I don't know those numbers, are moving toward Republicans. They're not moving away from Republicans at the ballot box.
Absolutely.
They're moving toward Republicans at the ballot box. So I think it's just making her so angry that she has to have outbursts similar to the outbursts that you have, Bob.
Correct. Yes.
Similar.
I'm
just
very similar
the
to
opposite
crazy
end of the outburst spectrum.
Right. I'm crazy like the Bravo lady.
All right. Okay, man, we made it to pet peeves. Finally.
Nice.
Woo.
All right.
This has been a good show. This is fun.
This has been a good show.
We had a blast today.
Yes, we did.
So my pet peeve, as often my pet peeves are, involves my wife and my wife needing to match everything. I don't know if your best girl does this, but I've known a lot of women who do this.
Really.
They have to match everything. And then when they have to when they're getting dressed, they have to match everything all the way down to like the purse, the tennis shoes, all of this. And then if one item changes, here's the annoying thing: they spend time getting ready, and then if they change their mind on one item, the entire outfit has to change. Like you can't just say no, I like these pants better than those pants.
No, then
because
everything
these pants don't match that shirt, and those shirt doesn't match that. And and here's where I get to my pet peeve. This week it came all the way down to her knee brace. My wife's knee is hurting her, so she
had to get a certain color of knee brace.
And I realized for the first time she has different colored knee braces. She has a drawer with knee braces on. So if she's having trouble with her knee that day, she's going to put on a knee brace that matches the outfit that she has.
Wow! Because
I said, here's your knee brace. I found it, and she said, oh, I can't wear that one today. That one doesn't match my outfit. So there's my pet peeve.
That is funny. See, my best girl is not really like that. She always looks nice and she always wears nice clothes. She doesn't go to that length, and I think she would say,
"You're lucky."
Oh, I would never do that. But as soon as it's time to take a picture, she has to take her glasses off. Like she's not allowed to be photographed with her glasses on. So that's clearly a vanity thing. So she does have some vanity issues, but not. And then on other things, she doesn't care. So trying to understand women is as we all know, is pointless. You'll never understand them. All right. So my pet peeves. First of all, certain words we have all decided as a society are pronounced a certain way. For example, it's Vladimir Putin. Okay. It's Kiev. And yet I am seeing.
See, I'm already going to argue with you.
To say it's Kiev. And I'm hearing like Mark Levin is pronouncing it Putin. Vladimir Putin. So, yeah, that annoys me. And then I also hate the phrase, Simone Sanders just said it, the phrase, there is no there. I hate that. That phrase drives me crazy. And then we'll finish up. The third one is a safety one. It's a Trucker Bob one. So I'm on the highway. Obviously, I'm up high. So I can look down into people's cars, and I can see what they're doing, like on their lap. I would say more than 90%, maybe 95% of people on the highway have their phone in their hand, on their lap, and are looking down at their phone while driving 70 miles an hour.
At least it's their
on a
phone in their
highway.
hand and not something else.
Right, and you never know what I might see. That's actually a famous thing that truckers used to get flashed. I have had kids I get that, not all the time, but pretty frequently I get the arm pump from
the
kids.
arm pump for pulling
and I
honking.
always do it. I love doing that. You make the truck
Do you
driver,
still have the rope that goes,
yeah,
or is it
absolutely.
just a button?
No, it's a rope. And every truck has that, yeah. So every big rig has that. So I always give the kids a good horn blast. I have never gotten flashed by a woman's boobs. And that used to be a thing back in the 70s. Truckers would always get flashed.
Well, God, you missed
I
that.
haven't
You missed
gotten
out on that,
one
I
yet.
guess, Bob.
I guess that's the new trucking. Doesn't have that. So there
All
you
right.
go. And
All right,
there's
well,
our show.
well, yeah, that's our show, everybody. I want to remind you to subscribe, especially so you can see some of these shorts that we're going to have coming up, but also like and comment and do all of those things. We love it when you do, and it helps build our traffic, and that helps us get closer to being able to quit our day jobs and do this
full
all day
time.
long. We
Yes.
haven't done any live shows. A lot of people have been suggesting, why don't you do live shows? And I simply say, because you never know what Bob's going to say, and I can't go back and
Right.
edit a live show and edit out the dumb shit
Right.
that he says.
Correct. When you have someone like me who has diarrhea of the mouth, you have to be careful with live. Having said that, I was on TV for 10 years. I can talk on live television. I am able to control my emotions to a certain extent.
I'm just goofing on you there, Bob.
I know.
All right, we're going to let him go for this week. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys. See you.
Well, that's it for this episode of Barrett and Baxa Media Shmedia. Like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff podcasts want you to do. Become one of the chosen few, the in crowd. You know, the cool kids, the ones who were passed out on Barrett's pool deck long after the party ended.
You don't say I love you like you used to be.